Sunrise Daily continues. About now, I hand you over now to Chamberlain in Lagos.
Well, thank you, Mark. Well, picking up on some data about states. We'll tell you what exactly soon. Babajide Ogunsanwo joins us now. He's our data and information analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Well, this week we had some interesting times. Different states. Well, the list did pop up about states who are said to be owing their workers' salaries at one point in time or the other. The budget support they've been receiving. What has happened to all of those? You've been looking into some of those particular matters. So what interested you and what did you find?
It's a good way to start. That things are rough and tough across all the 6 regions in the country is no longer news. Today's news is that there are three words that still makes all Nigerians happy. Now, what are these 3 words? I'll share that with you in a moment, and I think it will surprise you. But before I do, today's narrative from the NBS is that 64% of what you and I spend, what millions and millions of Nigerians still spend, 64% of their spending goes on food. How does it connect with salaries? It lets you know that salaries are used to eat. That's the first thing.
We eat our monies.
We eat. Now, the second thing is, if you do not eat, you go hungry. Now, the third thing is, we know that an hungry man is an angry man. We also know that an angry man soon becomes an irrational man. An irrational man soon becomes an unproductive man. An unproductive man soon becomes a poor man. A poor man soon becomes sick, and a sick man soon dies. And so, for several civil servants, unpaid salaries, the almighty formula for them is unpaid salaries is equal to debt. That's just the left side of the equation. The right side of the equation is unpaid salaries is equal to murder from the government. But all of this is just the one simple way to look at unpaid salaries before we dive into the numbers. The second way to look at unpaid salaries is what is the impact of unpaid salaries. And there are 3. The first is it affects the accountability of the civil servants. We'll discuss about that much later. The second thing is we know unpaid salaries negatively affects the productivity and performance of civil servants. And the third and perhaps the most important impact of unpaid salaries is that it gives an incentive for corruption. It creates saboteurs in the system. And so, in the final analysis, the government's fight against anti-corruption, the greatest enemy of this fight is even the government itself. And all of this creates a lot of tension in the system. It creates a lot of tension, especially for civil servants when he approaches this time of the month, towards the end of the month, because those 3 words that still makes all Nigerians happy. 3 words: credit, alert, received. And this time around, as we approach the end of the month, despite the 388 billion naira that the CBN had coordinated in 2015, a lot of civil servants still wouldn't get their salaries. Despite the approximately 600 billion naira debt restructuring that the Debt Management Office led, a lot of civil servants still wouldn't get their salaries. Despite the billions and billions of amounts that has been released for the Paris refund, a lot of civil servants wouldn't still get their salaries. And so civil servants ask only 2 questions today. 2 questions. What are these questions? The first question is, what is the problem? And the second question is, what is the solution? So let's talk about the problem first. Let's look at where all of this started, 2015. Now we know that 70% of states' governments get their fund, or rather, for most of the states, 70% of their funds come from the FAC allocation. In some states, even higher than 70%. And so, within the first 3 months of 2015, the states, let's not even consider the local governments for now, and let's not make it complex. The states collected 523 billion naira in the first 3 months of 2015. Sorry, it's a lot of money. 523 billion naira. But despite this amount in 2015, first 3 months, the states still required a bailout. What has happened in the first 3 months of 2017? They've gotten only 366 billion naira. And so, with a 523 billion naira amount in the first 3 months of 2015, they still needed a bailout. This first 3 months of 2017, only 366 billion naira. This time around, they need Jesus Christ. They need a miracle. That is where the problem is. The summary and the final analysis of this problem is the states do not have money. That is the problem.
So did they rely just on the revenue from FAC allocation?
And so it leads us to the second question. What is the solution? And there are 3 ways we could look at this. The IGR is one way. And let's look at what has even happened with the IGR. The states, in simple terms, over 30 states still earn and collect an IGR of less than 5,000 naira per person per year in each of these states. Lagos with the highest IGR, 268 billion naira. The IGR of Lagos is still higher than that of 32 states combined. Only Lagos, IGR greater than that of 32 states combined. And so it lets you clearly see that even though the states cannot mint money because they don't have the license to, even their IGR performance has been significantly weak. Look at it this way. 32 states earning less than 5,000 naira per person in each of their states per year. Less than 5,000 naira. Meanwhile, the minimum wage, even though we still say it's still significantly low, is 18,000 naira per person per month. So you can clearly see there's a disconnect between the revenues that they earn from IGR and FAC and how much they are paying out. In simple terms, these states cannot even pay salaries from their IGR.
So they're not sustainable.
They are not sustainable.
If they were a business.
No, if they were a business, they would have had to close shop. They will not get any customers. And that reminds me of what had happened in 2011, 6 years ago. 2 major things. There was a lot of noise among the Nigerian Governors Forum, which eventually went into the Senate. What was this noise about? Then a secret report had been released. This secret report had shown, which eventually was made public, was that there were only 9 states that were classified as either healthy or operating within tolerable status. Only 9 states. Let's look at these 9 states because that document is publicly available. Within the Northwest, only Kebbi and Jigawa. In the North Central, only Kwara. In the Northeast, the document said there was no state that was healthy. In the Southwest, only Lagos. In the South-South, only Akwa Ibom and Delta State, based on this document. And in the Southeast, only 3 states, Abia, Anambra, and Imo State. Only 9 states out of 36 that are operating within tolerable status and classified as healthy, because these states were